What's your biggest "this isn't what it looks like" moment? I work as a manager at a grocery store. Some cashiers aren't old enough to scan alcohol, so I have to do it for them. I made a comment to a female cashier after the 4th time she called me over. "I can't wait until you're 19. Took me a few seconds to realize what I said, in front of customers. My dad, not me. Working construction in the dead of winter, he gets back to the motel after pulling the night shift. He sits down on the bed and he is so frozen can't bend down to take off his boots, so his co-worker, who is a gigantic man, gets down on his knees to undo my dad's boots. The cleaning lady barges in to see a massive man on his knees and head down in front of another man who's sitting on the edge of a bed. Now my father did what anyone would do, threw his hands behind his head and moaned real loud. When my brother was young, he was playing with the vacuum and covered himself with those suction circles. He had a physical later that day and looked like he was covered in hickeys. "It's okay, doctor. My pet octopus just gets a little affectionate." My friend and I got super high in high school and were laying on the floor of my computer room listening to "I Feel Like Dying" by Lil Wayne. When I say super high, I mean it felt comparable to a mild trip from when I eventually did acid and shrooms in later years. We hear the garage door start to go up and go into an all-out panic. There would be no way to fool anyone that we weren't high. We come up with the brilliant idea to take off our uniform pants, Catholic school, and jump into my bunk beds and pretend we are sleeping. My mom makes her way upstairs and casually opens the door. I immediately dart up and say, "Hi mom, we are just taking a nap." She smiles, nods and closes the door. Years later I find out that my mom thought we were experimenting with each other, not drugs. She apparently called my uncle, who is gay, immediately after leaving the room and asked if he thought I was gay. Pretty funny stuff that my family brings up repeatedly to this day. Once I told my mom we were high, it made a lot more sense to her. "Oh, I see. They're only gay when they're high." I was getting ready to take a shower. My bedroom has its own bathroom shower, and I was already naked in my bedroom simply waiting for the water to get hot. Well, my dog was also in my bedroom because he always hangs out there. I was eating M&Ms just lying on my bed naked during this time and dropped an M&M onto the ground and it rolled under my bed. Being very anxious about what my dog eats, especially chocolate, I quickly got onto my knees on the ground and went to reach under the bed for the M&M. It rolled kinda far, so I was doing that thing where you are stretching your arm out as much as you can under the bed and just barely touching whatever it is you're trying to get, without knocking it farther away. Well, my golden retriever saw the position I was in and walked over and mounted me. Literally at that moment, my mom opens the door to my bedroom and sees me butt naked, bent on my knees, with my dog mounted behind me. I mean, talk about the doggy style position. I had a lot of explaining to do. It felt like an American Pie situation. The girl I was dating during sophomore year of college and I were both organ majors, preparing for an upcoming duet. During the summer, it was so warm in the church where we practiced, no air conditioning, and the organ installed up high in the rear where it was extra hot, that she and I played in our underwear, with just a small fan to move the air. We were shocked when we heard the locked door open and saw the pastor enter the church. He glanced at us, playing the organ in next to nothing, but quickly left and locked the door behind him. Later he told me at first he did a double take, but then realized we were doing the smart thing, and that in his seminary days, he would have done likewise. Not me but friends. They were newlyweds, 2 different nationalities. Common language wasn't perfect yet. There were some growing pains, confusion about each other's cultural background. They had just adopted a puppy. Wife tells husband that neutering the dog would be a good idea. He agrees. Later the same day she takes the pup for a walk. He does his business and she notices that the dog's pee gets on his fur. So she decides to trim said fur, just for the husband to walk down the stair mid-haircut, or better fall down the stairs screaming. He thought she didn't want to wait for the vet. It's been over 10 years. They are still happily married and we are still laughing about that story. My boyfriend and I were jumping on the trampoline together years ago, just bouncing around like a couple of kids, laughing our butts off. It was fun. He accidentally butt dialed his parents, who speakerphoned our laughing. creaking springs, and gasping to a carload of people. They were all mortified. We were able to set it straight later, but oof. Sorry mom and dad. Sure, oh the trampoline. Playing the long games here. See mom, I told you, I even posted about it on Reddit. We were playing a game of hide and seek in the dark at a youth group at my church. It was 7:30 PM and dark outside. All the kids hid inside the church while I waited outside for a minute or so. I had on all black so I could be sneaky. I figured I'd start by looking through some of the windows to see if I could spot one of the kids. Meanwhile, an old couple walks by for an evening night stroll with their dog and sees me, a black guy wearing all black, looking in the window of a church with all of the lights off. I started yelling, "I'm going to find you," in hopes they would figure out we're playing a game. I lost it at the last line. Hit a deer, took it home to butcher it out because heck, it just made us dip into our grocery budget to fix the car. Halfway through processing this deer, we realize we have nothing to store the meat in. I go in and do what I'm nearly certain is a thorough cleaning up. Then I'm off to the store, collect large black trash bags, electrical tape, because I was there and needed it for a cord, cellophane, and numerous different sizes of zipper bags. Now here I am at checkout dumping my collection as the gent behind me says, "Are you alright? You're bleeding." I look down seeing blood I missed, but smile and offer, "Oh, it's not mine." Cue everyone to look at my selection. Do not say that. Cops do show up. Come on Dexter, you're better than that. I was sleeping and I was having a dream where this lady had a nice butt. I said nice butt in my dream. Apparently, my stepsister was in the room for some reason and I said nice butt out loud. I woke up dumbfounded to my stepbrother saying, "You like a butt?" A family we were close to had just moved to the US from India. They had a young daughter, like 5 years old, who was still learning English. One day she fell down the stairs while playing outside. She ran in crying and saying, "The stairs hit me." Once she calmed down, her dad corrected her and said, "No, you mean to say I fell down the stairs." A few days later my dad was showing them the grocery store. In the checkout line the cashier saw the girl's bruised up legs and asked what happened. The daughter responded with, "What did you tell me to say, Dad?" "Oh right, I fell down the stairs." He had a fun time explaining that to the police. I used to take my kids to different playgrounds as they were growing up. Oftentimes I'd be out there with them, chasing them, being the random monster dragon antagonist while they run away and then eventually turn around and chase me back. Inevitably, since the rest of the parents were on their iPhones or doing anything but interacting with their kids, I'd end up with a collection who wanted to join in the fun. It was all going well until they said they wanted to play Minecraft. So as a group of kids suddenly scatter from where I am standing yelling, "Ah, run away from the creeper." I look up to see a line of parents suddenly jostled back into consciousness with absolutely no friggin' context whatsoever. This isn't what it sounds like. I was a weird person in high school, and my friends were equally weird. We had no boundaries. My friend and I were walking to class, and were discussing the Jackass clip where they had a gas mask and tube assembly where one person wore the mask and the other farted into the tube. We thought this sounded like a pretty cool idea and were considering trying this out. As we walked around the corner, I said to him, "I'll suck yours if you'd suck mine." The hot girl conveniently rounding the corner at that precise moment. I don't think the explanation would have saved this situation. No, we weren't going to blow each other, we were just talking about inhaling each other's farts. My wife and I used to hide money in her underwear drawer so our kids won't be digging through it because they think it's gross. One morning, I was getting dressed and wanted to get some money before I forget. So I was digging through her underwear when my 5-year-old son saw me. He asked what I was doing and naturally, I can't tell him that I needed money, so I had to say something like that I was cleaning things up. Pretty sure he didn't believe me and thought I was looking for a pair to wear. Bro, it's okay. You don't have to keep the lie alive on Reddit. It's 2018, you put them pretty little panties on. My wife got spiked one night out. Got a call from her to get her and her mate. Went into town to find her lying in a gutter. So I had to drag a limp body into the back of my car with people looking on like time kidnapping my wife while her mate staggered around. A fair few dodgy looks I got. Still a bit of puking and some sleep helped. Bloody love that girl, not so much the dongs with pills. That makes me uncomfortable that people saw you dragging a limp body and did not say anything. Living with my roommate and I had put washing in the machine the night before. When I got home from work I remembered the washing, opened up the machine and grabbed an item of clothing and smelt it to see if it had that I dried on my own so FKU smell. But as I did it I saw my roommate staring at me in shock. Apparently he had thrown some of his stuff in with mine, including his underwear, the underwear I was sniffing. He moved out shortly after. Back in high school, I was a photographer at a summer camp. One time at the end of a day, as kids were being picked up by their parents, one girl saw me and said to her mother, "Mom, that's the man who took pictures of me." That mother spun around so fast. Fortunately, when she instantly realized I was the camp photographer, we both exchanged an awkward nervous smile and laugh. But boy, when I heard that girl say that, my heart skipped a beat. Talk about awkward. My new neighbor told me about a house fire in his old neighborhood. It was fall, and he and his family were roasting marshmallows in their fireplace when they heard the fire truck siren. They ran outside and saw the emergency vehicles a few houses down in front of their neighbor's house. They ran down the street toward the crowd. As they stood with the crowd watching the house burn they were getting nasty looks. It was then he realized they were still holding the roasting sticks with marshmallows on them. Jethro Bide suggests my neighbor may have lied about the origin of this story. It's certainly possible. Whether it involves my neighbor or not, it's still a good story. I worked at a game stop one Christmas as a seasonal employee. This was when the GBA was current. I literally had a GBA and some cartridges zipped up in my coat pocket. Leaving on my first day they informed me they need to do a pocket check to make sure I didn't steal anything. So I have to dump out this handful of loose cartridges that actually were mine. My brother and I got into a fist fight. He was right, I was wrong, and he punched me in the mouth. I was bleeding pretty good and kept spitting blood on him for some reason. He went into the condo, vacation, and my mom freaked out because he had blood all over him. It went a little like this. Mom, OMG you're covered in blood. Brother, calm down it isn't my blood. Mom, OMFG whose blood is it what did you do? Brother, Mom it's fine it's just Tyler's. Me, blood. Mom, OMFG did you fricking kill him? Where is Tyler? I walked in shortly after alive and well. The dispute between my brother and I was settled BTW. When I was 16, I was fricking my girlfriend. There was just the two of us in my house. We were doing it on a chair in the spare room where the PC was. Suddenly my 13-year-old sister came through the front door and ran up the stairs shouting my name. My GF leapt up off of me and I dove towards the door to stop my sister running in the room. She thought I was alone and wanking over pee on PC. My GF was mortified, so even though it wasn't what it looked like, I had to pretend it was. Good man. My mom hooks rugs, basically a form of art where you pull strips of wool through burlap to create a pattern picture, which can then be used as a rug or tapestry. She playfully referred to herself as a H to her friends. In kindergarten, my teacher gave us a project where we talked about what jobs our parents did. I cheerfully told the entire class and teacher that my mom was a H. The principal called my mom in for a meeting, where she had to explain to the administration that she did not sleep with people for money. I wanted white hair, just thought it would be cool. I went on bleaching mission like you wouldn't believe. Finally got a hairdresser to sell me some highly concentrated crap. Friend of mine comes over as I'm about to start this disaster and decides to help. She starts combing the mix through my hair. Even though it's belched to death already the ringlets start flinging crap all over the bathroom and her shirt. So she take that off bleach mix end up all over her chest. While I'm in the shower rinsing my head off she comes barging cause her TR on fire. Post shower we're drying off in the living room and that's when her sister walks in. As but naked, wet, laughing a bit and for all intents and purposes looking like we just got done boning. Not me directly, but feel this story is relevant. We'd just moved into a new house. My older sister, who was about 5 at the time, was refusing to get in the bath and my mum was throwing the classic you wait until your father gets home. After a lot more yelling, and mum struggling, we hear dad pull up in the driveway. My sister was so worked up about getting in trouble from dad she ran straight out of the house, completely naked. to dad's car screaming repetitively no daddy no AMD continued to run around the front yard screaming. Well, our new neighbors across the street heard her screaming and when they saw her running around the yard naked rushed over to rescue her and started yelling at dad to stay away. My poor dad had no idea what was going on and mum came out and explained what was actually happening. That family became lifelong friends of ours. Turned out they had a daughter 2 days older than me. We're still best friends and our families have adopted each other as second families. The neighbor that rescued my sister even emceed my sister's wedding and told that story. The story even still comes up at BBQs despite happening 30 odd years ago. 12-year-old me is in the school gym, about to participate in an exam to earn my green belt in karate. It was around this time that my eyesight was deteriorating, but a couple of months before I would end up with glasses. Sometimes in order to see things more clearly, I would put my fingers to the corners of my eyes and stretch them, narrowing the focus enough for me to make out details on the blackboard or whatever. So I arrive along with some friends and we're just wandering around waiting for things to get started when I look up to see the silhouette of a man standing on a balcony that overlooked the main hall. It is then that I remember that we had invited the founder of the organization to attend, who had come all the way from Japan and was touring around Europe. This imperious looking shadowy figure looks like he might fit the bill, but I'm not certain, as he's far away and rather blurry, so I step forwards, crane my neck upwards, and press my fingers to the corners of my eyes. Falling asleep on the living room couch while watching HBO in the 90s. Parents came into the room and couldn't tell that I had fallen asleep, but they could tell that lesbian P was now on TV. It looked like I was happily and unflinchingly watching P in the middle of my parents' house. I was having a wank one time when my girlfriend suddenly opened the door. Now, she doesn't care that I watch P and jerk off, but my instinct when the door suddenly opens is to close the P and put my dong away. Unfortunately, I closed the P more quickly than I could get my dong back in my pants, and behind it was another video that I'd started watching earlier. So she walks in, sees me with my hard dong in my hand and a video of a guy juggling playing in front of me, raises her eyebrows, says righto, and walks back out. Got curious about a neat looking gun I saw in a movie, decided to look it up online. My mom saw the firearms forum on my screen and immediately assumed I was planning a school shooting despite me having a loving support network of friends, family and having no signs of severe mental illness. My mother is massively anti-gun, if you couldn't already tell. I was in class and bored, so I started scribbling furiously on the underside of my desk with my pen in my own little daydream. I then snapped out of it, looked up and the whole class is looking at me like I was jerking off. I was in a parked car in the lot of our local baseball stadium. It was family day and there was lots of tailgating and games for the kids. I was breastfeeding my infant daughter in the driver's seat. I had put a baby blanket in the window to block the sun from her face. Two boys, about 10-12, walked past my car and tried to look into the window. I heard them yelling to their dad from outside my blanket covered window that I was doing drugs in the car. I have no idea what made them think that. Their dad, a cop, came over and beat on the window, demanding that I open up. My husband, who is also a cop, came running over after seeing this big dude beating on our car. Meanwhile, I had unlatched the baby, covered myself and rolled down the window. The first cop dad was SOOO embarrassed, and the kids were shouting. I was upset, the baby was squalling with interrupted meal rage, and my hubs was yelling at everyone. Then stadium security showed up. Good times. In college, I legitimately had a very persistent itch on my groin area that had bugged me the entire day. When I got home, I sat down to try and check it out. It was just an irritated spot from me shaving. My roommate got home early that day and walked in on me with my pants down and dong out while Days of Our Lives was on TV. Early on, when my husband and I were first just hooking up, we were pretty casual. His job took him out of town for weeks at a time and we weren't exclusive. Crap happened and I ended up between places for a few weeks and stayed at his apartment with my dog. My dog also had a skin condition going on at the time, and he would always sleep with me, especially when Miso wasn't in town. So he would leave little skin scabs on the sheet. Super gross. When my so came back to town, I'd always reassure him how I made sure to wash the sheets before he came home. It was a few hitches in before he pointed out how that sounded to him, like I was bringing dudes to his place to bang or something, lol. So my family is a bit weird. My sister was a teen mother, and my mom had a late surprise pregnancy at 41. My brother is actually younger than his niece by 2 years. When he was just a baby, he picked up a toy truck and clocked my niece with it, giving her a black eye. The next day, at preschool, the teacher asked my niece what happened. She nonchalantly replied, "My uncle hit me." When my sister arrived to pick her up, the teacher was waiting and asked her about it. She was very relieved to meet the uncle in question, my toddler baby brother, and realize he wasn't a grown man. I wanted to know how bombs worked. What is an explosion? So I googled how to make bombs. Dad wasn't happy when he went to check his email. My dad didn't get an email about it. He went to check his email, and when he clicked the search bar in Google to type Hotmail, it went how to make bombs in the previously searched list. When I was a kid, 16-year-old, my family would have me take my older siblings' children to the grocery store. Being 16 and having a toddler around the grocery store was wildly uncomfortable. From "Where's the baby's mother" to "Oh bless your heart, you're just a kid. This isn't what it looks like. Mind your own business," and "Yes grandma, I saw you giving me the stink eye." Two guys I knew, at a high school graduation party, families and crap in attendance, went to the bathroom rail out some blow. When they stepped out, the homeowner, aka the graduating kid's dad, was waiting to use the restroom and was looking at them and said something along the lines of, "You doing some gay crap in my house?" One of the guys, in their infinite wisdom, responds, "No, we weren't doing anything like that. We were doing blow," prompted them getting kicked out of the house. I, 44M, once ended up in the grocery store checkout line with a cucumber, a bottle of wine, and a jar of Vaseline. I didn't really consider what it must have looked like until the 16-year-old young lady cashier asked if I had a big night planned. This actually happened yesterday, super uncomfortable. Moreover, this isn't what it sounds like, but our professor was asking us what we thought, as children, when our parents fought. When he said this, it sparked a specific memory of my dad drunk, probably slightly buzzed, but I was really little, so I took my older wiser sister's word and was extremely worried that my dad was going to beat my mom. He obviously didn't and has never and will never hurt my mom. But for some reason this memory popped in my mind even though they weren't even fighting. So my teacher calls on me and asks, "What was your what if moment when your parents fought?" And I was taken by surprise, so I answered with the first thing that popped in my mind, which was, what if my dad hits my mom? I don't think he nor my classmates expected such a morbid answer. BC, he gave me a quick weird look, but before I could justify what I said, he asked someone else and they had some vanilla innocent "what if I caused the fight" answer, and I just felt a whole lot of shame and worry that my classmates now think my dad beats my mom, lol. To make matters worse, a few minutes later he was like, "Let's take a break." That was some pretty heavy stuff. Talking about family can be surprisingly emotional. He's never given us a break mid-lecture before. Look, that's his own fault. These kind of things do happen, and he should be well aware of that. He's specifically asking about fights, too. When I walked in on my then fiancé fricking some other guy, I got home early from work. They were naked in bed together, and first instinct was to tell me not what it looks like, and when I obviously didn't buy it, she went with, "You aren't supposed to be home yet." Instead of murder the both of them on the spot, I walked away. "And you aren't supposed to be fricking until after I come home." If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.